Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum. Irini Mazisu, Pax Vobiscum, peace be unto you. We're going to do a different kind of video today. This is more of just like a free flow video, more of a vlog type video. We don't usually do these, but it really, I thought it was necessary to do this video because I was presented the question of why are you keeping Shavuot the day you're keeping it on? You know, you're misrepresenting the Jewish faith and the Jewish people and so on. You're misrepresenting the Bible and so on. Although that wasn't said, but I think that's what was kind of intended by the question. I'm going to just present to you the reality. People are under the false assumption that there's only one opinion on Pentecost or Shavuot, that the Hallel 2 understanding of Pentecost is all there is. That's it. That's the end of story. No argument. It's just one. You'll be shocked to learn that there are 7. There's actually 7 Pentecosts being kept this year of 2024, the Roman reckoning of the year. But let me go through them all. Okay, the first one, Joseph Dumond and his group Sighted Moon. They base it on the barley and the wheat in the land of Israel, and also obviously the sighted moon. However, they believed that it can be gathered from many fields, the omer, and combine them all into one, not from a uniform single site where you'd gather an omer, roughly a bucket of abib or aviv barley. And so they kept Passover, I think around February, and then their Pentecost was finished last month, sometime in April. So, you know what? I'm not here to bash anybody or to insult anyone. I'm just presenting the truth. So they kept it that way. And my opinion on that still stands, that I think it's better to keep it early. Right? This is why I believe so. Because in case the early one was the true one, was the true Pentecost or the true Passover, you still get a chance to do a do-over, because there is something called the second Passover. So in case of like the situation we had this year, it's not very clear-cut or black and white, you know, is that aviv barley, is there enough, and so on. Then you could say, okay, well, we were wrong, and we will keep the right one, which is the second Passover. So it's an insurance policy. That's how I see it. Okay, so that's why I feel like that was a wise decision to do that. But to my knowledge, they did not correct. They didn't correct their course, saying that they didn't acknowledge that what they did was too early, and so they just continued going on. So anyway, that's their decision. I'm not going to judge that, but just present the facts. Okay, second Pentecost is I'm going to call it the Septuagintian. Actually, I'll leave that for last. I'll leave that for last. So the second one would be Ancient Path New Moon. Okay, Ancient Path New Moon is the group of Rivka Bitterman, who lives in the land of Israel, in Galilee, if I'm not mistaken. Just like Yeshua, and interestingly enough. And she observes the lunar calendar based on the sighted moon, but she provides not only a reliable eyewitness, but I keep saying this because I believe it's true, she obsessively covers the state of the barley, the wheat, and not just that, even the 7 species. She expands it to inspecting the olives, the figs, the pomegranates, and more. Okay, the flax. So there's one I missed one. Can't remember which one that is right now. I think it's the grapes. Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's the grapes. So there's 7 species, and then she even looks at the wildlife. She is very circumspect. You could not find a better witness, and I want to thank Yah that she is even alive, and I'm alive at the same time. In this, we are contemporaries, and what a blessing she is. So that's how she keeps it, and I fully agree with her. The only discrepancy we have is that she bases her count of the Omer not on the morrow of the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, but the first day of the week. And we went through that in my previous video, talking about the third day, how is Jesus or Yeshua's HaMashiach, is Yeshua's resurrection connected to the count to Pentecost. Okay, so that's that second Pentecost now. The third one is Devorah's Date Tree, run by Devorah Gordon, and she does inspections too. However, she is not messianic, and she does not look at the wild barley as Rivka Bitterman does, who is also messianic, who I have to mention. So Devorah Gordon is a Karaite Jewish lady, and she does not live in Israel. As far as I know, she does not live there. She only visits there. Okay, now correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe she does live there, but as far as I know, she does not obsessively track the progression of the barley and the wheat on a weekly basis. She does it long after, not long after, but kind of in intervals and long intervals too. She doesn't provide steady updates, okay? And she doesn't base it off the wild barley. It's based on the agricultural barley, which is the domestic barley that was planted there artificially, not what already existed from ancient times that had been there since the times of ancient Egypt, for instance. It's called the black emmer wheat, is one of the species. Does she base it off the count of the Omer? Does she base it off counting from the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread or the first day of the week? I'm not sure. I'm going to assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it is the first day, the morrow of the first day of Unleavened Bread, the High Holy Day, since she is a Jewish lady. Okay, so that's, how many is that? 4 so far, right? Dumond, Ancient Path, Devorah. Okay, that's 3. Sorry, that's 3. The fourth one, getting into more fringe groups, but and the Enochian Shavuot. I don't know how they count it. I know that my understanding is that they start the new year based on the spring equinox. So whenever the equinox is, that's their first day of the new year. And so that's how they would start the calendar. That would be the first month. And then they would count, I would assume 30 days is their calendar. It's like a fixed 30-day calendar. So I'm not sure when that would fall. I used to calculate those things. And again, I completely respect that because I can understand why someone would use the Enochian calendar. I'm not here to judge and say, oh, this is inferior to my understanding. It isn't. Okay, that is the understanding that they've been led to. Yah has led them to that. And who am I to judge their relationship with Yah? I can't judge that. I'm just saying these are, again, presenting facts, presenting different understandings and viewpoints on this. So that is the Enochian one. So they would have a different date, obviously, than what the other groups are doing. So that is now 4. The 5th one is the Lunar Sabbath group, the Lunar Sabbath followers that base not just the calendar, but even their weekly Sabbaths on the new moon. When the new moon is sighted, it resets everything. And then you start your count towards the Sabbath. So the 7th day of the new moon is automatically the weekly Sabbath, although that is such a non-biblical practice because the week of Yeshua's crucifixion and resurrection completely obliterates that stance because the order of the days in terms of 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, the Sabbath, the weekly Sabbath of that week, if I remember correctly, fell on the 18th or 19th at the latest. And according to the lunar Sabbath folks, the Sabbath has to be either on the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, 28th. So not even close to either of those days. So that is, again, I didn't want to prove them wrong, but I have to be factual here, people. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 2 more to go. Okay, what's the next one? That's the most popular mainstream one. That's the Hillel 2 calendar. This is based on Hillel, who bases it off the Metonic cycles, and it is pre-fixed, pre-calculated. It was initially meant as a guideline, not the end-all be-all. It was to be a reference point. So in the exile, due to the Babylonian captivity, they were no longer in the land of Israel, and specifically in Jerusalem, the city of Jerusalem. So they could not operate the Sanhedrin or observe the lunar calendar because they were in a different land. So they had to come up with a way to unify all Jewish people to have harmony and unity of keeping these holy days, these festivals of Adonai. And so they came up with the Hillel 2 calendar. And that was only a temporary stopgap solution, but it still continues to this day, strangely enough. It is, what do they call it? Archaic system, which really should be phased out, but it hasn't. It will be, however, when the Sanhedrin, Adonai willing, when the Sanhedrin is reestablished because the temple is rebuilt. And so they would go back to the ancient ways, which are correct, which is scripturally correct. So the Hillel 2 one, the only thing I agree with Hillel 2 is, not the only, but one of the only points is, yes, it's good to have unity, but when you're unified in a wrong tradition, let's just say everyone agreed that the Sabbath was correct, okay? All 8 billion people on earth agreed we should keep the Sabbath, but they're keeping Sunday as Sabbath. All 8 billion, except for one, okay? Hypothetically, there's 1 or 2 people keeping it on Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, but everyone else says, no, you're wrong because there's more of us than you. Are you automatically wrong because numbers and majority create having greater numbers automatically makes you right? Well, we can see in scripture that there are 300 prophets of the other God, Baal, but there was only one of Adonai, that was Eliyahu. Was he wrong because he was one person versus 300? Well, we know the answer. We can see what happened in that account. So the same thing for this. Just because the majority of people keep either the Hillel 2 understanding or whatever, what have you, and I'm in the minority, does that make me automatically wrong? Again, I would refer you to the account of Elijah. But is the point to prove that I'm right and everyone else is wrong? No, that's not what I've set out to do here. I'm just presenting there's 7 different Pentecosts being kept. And again, I respect all these different opinions. I respect them. There's one left. Okay, that would be the Septuagintian, I'm calling it. I'm coining this phrase, Septuagintian, because this is how I observe it and how I teach it on this channel, that it must be observed according to the infallible words of Elohim, the Elohim of Israel, Adonai. His name is Yah. And in Leviticus 23, it says explicitly that it is on the morrow of the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And, to give credit where credit is due, that's what the mainstream Jewish people are doing. Full credit to them. We actually agree on that, whereas most of the other groups don't agree on that. They all think it's the first day of the week, the 7-day week, whereas I agree with, for whatever reason, they agree with the Septuagintian reckoning of the count. It's just in terms of the agricultural, you basing on the agricultural evidence, the barley, the wheat, and so on, they don't use that presently, not yet anyway, because that's what I base it on. So pretty much I'm closest to Rivka Bitterman's understanding because she is providing the witnesses in the land of Israel. The only divergence between us is, the count of the Omer starting She starts it the morrow after the weekly Sabbath, whereas I begin it on the morrow after the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So we're only maybe 2-3 days apart, not very far at all. So did I cover all of that? Okay, so what is the point of this video? Again, I'm not here to prop myself up. I'm not here to put anyone down. I'm only presenting the facts. There are 7 Pentecosts, 7 Shavuot. And it's ironic because the number 7 in Hebrews is Shev or Shabua. Shabua is like multiples, right? Like a week. Shavu. So Shavu. There's 7 Shavuots. Shavuot. This year, in any case. Most of the time, there's more of an agreement. This one in particular in 2024, there's a lot more differences of opinion because, again, the barley harvest was not, or the barley maturation, the stages of it being mature and being in the state of Aviv was kind of in the gray area, but now it's more clear because the wheat, the black emmer wheat in particular, is ripening and is ready right now. It was ready recently, right before this day of Shavuot, in the week leading up to this day. So what is the point? What is the point of this video? Why am I presenting 7 Pentecosts? Because I know there's a risk of people being discouraged and disillusioned. There's so many opinions. Why this can't be the truth? There's so many different opinions. People are going to disagree on major things, such as the nature of Yeshua. Is he a deity or is he just a man? Is he just a prophet? We need to be agreed and have consensus on those major things, that Yeshua is truly the Son of Elohim, that he was the prophet that Moses spoke of, that he was crucified and he rose again after 3 days and 3 nights on the 3rd day, that he was the Lamb of God, and he sits currently at the right hand of the power of the Father. Elohim sits at his right hand waiting for the time where he will return as the conquering Messiah, the one who will save Israel from her enemies. But there are minor things where we will disagree. Now, I don't want to say this is a minor thing because it is a holy day, but more minor things that are maybe a little more trivial. But the point is that perhaps when the 2 witnesses are on the scene, or when Yeshua returns, these differences will be erased, because there will only be one calendar, and it will be declared to us perhaps by his angels, Yeshua's angels, or by Yeshua HaMashiach himself. But there will be unity and observance at that time. Perhaps even before then, perhaps if the Sanhedrin are reestablished, or when that happens, there will be unity all across the board, perhaps. And will be based on the ancient ways. Again, there is a Israeli New Moon Society that has stated that when the Sanhedrin is reestablished and they have the temple again, they will go back to observing the calendar based on the sighted moon, based on the new sliver of the crescent moon. They will go back to that. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And another question remains, would they go back to the barley? Would it be the wild barley or the domestic barley? I can't answer that. But if there is no barley to be given as a offering, as well as the wheat, you have no offering and you have no crops. So practically, from a standpoint of just survivalism, you can't feed your family if you don't have any harvest. So it's vitally important that it is based off the agriculture, or otherwise you would have no offering. There would be no offering to fulfill the commandment. So people would say, well, it's not important, agriculture. It is. So that's my stance on all these things. There are 7 Pentecosts, but, Adonai willing, and in his perfect time, these differences will be erased, and there will be one holy day. There'll be one calendar. There'll be one. We'll all be one in accordance, in one accord. These differences exist presently to test us, to see if we would still treat each other with love and respect and dignity. If we would love each other as Yeshua loved us. And when I meet people who are observing the feasts, the biblical feasts, mind you, based on different understanding than my own, I don't get into an argument with them. Not that it's wrong to. We can get into respectful argument, respectful debate. But I'm not going to hit them over the head with this and discourage them from the faith. If they were led to believe whatever it is, one of these seven, so be it. We can have a respectful debate, respectful discussion, and actually learn from each other. I think it's important, if we're going to have a debate, to, first of all, learn from each other. So if someone were to debate me, for example, on this issue, I would say, okay, you tell me everything that you understand about this, and I'm just going to sit and listen. I'm not even going to interrupt you until you're done, and then I will do the same thing. I'll explain from my point of view, from the point of view of the Septuagint. Anyway, not really my point of view, because whatever I say would just be wrong. It's not really the word of Adonai. And then we can do a counterpoint, rebuttals and so on. So that's all for this video. I don't really do vlogs like this, but I thought it's such an important issue, and I want to present, there's not just one opinion. It's not a monolithic thing that's only halal to, and there's only what the Jewish people are doing is the only way. They're different. These are Jewish groups. Divorce Date Tree, Jewish. Karaite, Jewish. Ancient Path New Moon, Rivka Bitterman is a Jewish lady. And probably other Jews in a lot of these other groups, such as Messianic Jews. So, of Jewish lineage. I don't know if I have Jewish ancestry. I'm not sure. I haven't done a test. But that's not the point. It's not, Elohim can raise stones to be children of Abraham. So, who am I to say? Who am I to judge? But, follow him with all your heart. Seek him with all your heart, and you will find him. So I just hope that you prove these things based off not just what I present in this channel, but primarily through the scriptures, also through historical evidence. Just look up Hebrew calendar on Wikipedia. You could see all the proofs showing how the calendar was kept by ancient Israel, not based on Hillel too, but based on the sighted moon and the agricultural cycles, specifically the Abib barley, or the barley being Abib, in the state of Abib, and also the wheat, and most likely including the 7 species that Rivka Bitterman covers on her channel, which is Ancient Path New Moon. So thank you for your time. I know I'm getting a little long-winded here, but I wanted to present this because it kind of bothered me. And before I finish this video, I'm going to also kind of go into another topic, just really quickly. If I, one human being, one man, I'm doing it this way, and I'm kind of getting ahead of the trend, kind of ahead of my time, because in my opinion, again, when Yeshua HaMashiach returns and he sets things straight, we're going to be keeping one calendar. And if I was right or if I was wrong, whatever it is, should I be doing something based off of historical truth and scriptural truth? Well, obviously, yes. I think that is the case. But how far do you take this? That's the question I wanted to answer. What about sacrifices and offerings? Could I just go ahead and sacrifice bulls and ox and lambs and pigeons? No, I can't. I'm not a Levite. And even if I was, you can't just do it anywhere. It has to be on a specific set apart place, such as the altar, such as the tabernacle, such as the temple. You can't just do it just because you want to. It has to be done by the qualified people, the Levites specifically, sons of Aaron. It has to be done the proper way. It has to be done with the proper attitude. It has to be done for the proper reason, at the proper time, proper number. Very specific. Adonai gives his mitzvot, and they're very specific. You can't go to the left or right. Even the prophet, we didn't speak about this yet, but even the young prophet and the old prophet, if you go to the left or too much to the right, there'll be dire consequences, including your life. So we have to be very, very careful the way we obey Adonai. He's merciful, yes, but he's very specific. We have to be very circumspect and very careful. So I can't just get ahead of myself and, just self-appoint myself, self-anoint myself, as some people would do, and say they are an apostle, a prophet, and so on. I'm just a regular human being. I'm a human being that has a love for the scriptures, has been led to study the Septuagint. What is special about this channel is not me, it's the Septuagint. It's all about the word of Adonai. It's all about that. And if I would share my opinion, that's my opinion. But if it isn't based on the truth, if it's not based on the actual words that are being written there and we read, then it's just my opinion. But if it can be proven through not only the word, the writing, but also through the discernment of the Ruach HaKodesh, through the Parakletos, through the Spirit of truth that guides us into all truth, because it takes discernment, takes wisdom, and that wisdom does not come from myself, it comes from Adonai. I'm not saying everything that I believe is from Adonai, but there's a certain element of discernment where, for example, the Sabbath, where I discern based off historical information, based off of scripture, that it is the seventh day, not the first day. It's not Sunday. It is from Friday sunset, again, the biblical reckoning of time, Friday sunset to Saturday sunset. That is the way the Jewish people have kept it correctly, basing off of scriptures, and they've done that for thousands and thousands of years. So there is discernment, level of discernment that comes into place. And with Shavuot, you have to be very careful. I'm not saying that if you keep the wrong date, you're going to be damned to hell and you're going to be burning in the lake of fire. That's not what I'm saying. I believe they are dress rehearsals. They are rehearsals for this time being. I don't think Adonai will burn anyone in hell or, curse them for keeping the wrong date. Unless they intentionally lead people astray. Then yes, there will be a reckoning. There will be an answering that they would have to, be judged for if they intentionally led people astray. But if they did so, if they lead people in whatever way, out of the goodness of their heart, out of the, the integrity of their heart, because they truly believe this is what Yah has said, Adonai has said this, and we have to obey it, then I don't believe the judgment will be very harsh on them. I believe it will just simply be, okay, you did wrong timing, wrong understanding, we'll just fix it, and this is the way it's got to be. So you better, go with the program, get with the program, because this is how it is supposed to be. Whether it's Yeshua or the angel under Yeshua saying this is the way it's got to be, now you just got to fall into place. Okay, there's not going to be any wavering or diverging opinions from that. It's going to be one. We're going to be echad, finally. Right? So, no, I don't think it is a salvific issue. I don't think so. I don't think that's what it is. That's why I'm not very, staunch on it to say that, these groups are this and that, and I'm the one that's right. No, it's not about that. These are tests of the heart to see where your heart is. How are you going to treat each other? Will you have forbearance with one another? And I presented, I think, recently in a video about long-suffering, or erech apayim in the Greek. Oh, okay. I forgot my own teaching right now. Long-tempered, long passion, okay, in the English. Thumos. Anyway, forgot the first part. That doesn't look really good, but anyway. Thumos is passion, if I'm not mistaken. So, long passion. I want to look it up now. I don't remember what it is, but anyway. That looks bad on me. But in any case, it's a test to show not if we remember everything or if we know everything, but will we do what we teach? Will we practice what we preach? Because I could forget what I spoke about, in terms of the Greek and what it means and so on. But do I understand the principle? Do I practice what I preach? Because that's more important. So yeah, it's not coming to me right now. Unfortunately, I don't remember the Greek word for it. I'm going to have to just go to my video and kind of cheat here. Because I can... Macrothumia. Okay, macros. Macros is long or large. So macrothumia. So having said all that, thank you very much. I don't want to go past 30 minutes. I'll bid you well. Shalom Aleichem, Assalamu Alaikum, and Maranatha.